You are listening to Unscripted Moments, a podcast about propagandhi. On this episode, I am delighted to welcome Mark Miller to the podcast. Mark Miller is a photographer in Buffalo, New York, who has photographed propagandhi several times between 1996 and 2006 at numerous shows across southern Ontario. Mark's work came to my attention in the Less Talk More Rock April 2021 25th anniversary article in Brooklyn Vegan, written by Steve Vanace. Steve appeared on the podcast to discuss that article, but the photography in that article were all credited to Mark Miller, and I have no idea how I figured this out, but Mark Miller lives within just a few miles of me here in Buffalo. I've seen him at shows over the years, and I was delighted to connect with him to discuss photographing propagandhi, documenting Buffalo and Ontario's music scenes through his photography, and also learn more about his Buffalo-centric podcast, Nickel City Soundtrack. Mark and I close out the episode by discussing Apparently I'm a PC Fascist, Nailing Descartes to the Wall, Resisting Tyrannical Government, and Rock for Sustainable Capitalism. I strongly encourage you to check out Mark's work on Nickel City Soundtrack, where you can hear a ton of cool Buffalo people talking about music, including Daryl from Snapcase, Robbie from the Goo Goo Dolls, and much more. You can follow Mark on Instagram at HMNIPhoto to go check out a selection of the photos he just published of his years of shooting propagandhi shows. Thank you so much for listening. Please enjoy this conversation with Mark Miller. Mark Miller, welcome to Unscripted Moments, a podcast about propagandhi.
Thank you for having me on, Greg.
I am so happy that you're here, Mark. Why don't you just go ahead and spend a moment and tell the listeners out there a little bit about who you are and what you do?
My name is Mark Miller. I live in Buffalo, New York. I grew up in New York City, but I moved to Buffalo for college a long time ago. And when I came to Buffalo, I kind of immersed myself in like hardcore and punk. Like I met some kids who had a punk house, and the rest was history after that. And along the way, I picked up photography as a thing, and I kind of do photography as a job. Well, I do photography as a job now. So basically, I found my career through hardcore, I guess, and punk. So
That's so great, though.
yeah.
I mean, what an awesome entry point. What is your, how did that start? Did you just go to the store and buy disposable cameras and just start taking pictures at shows? Or how did you get into that?
Exactly. Like I decided I want to take pictures at shows, and I bought disposable cameras at stores around Buffalo and stuff. And I went to shows, took pictures, and eventually I got a point and shoot camera. And I got a manual SLR, and then I got a automatic SLR, and kept building and building as keep moving forward and forward and forward as far as pictures. Yeah.
I love that. What kind of era did you kind of get into Buffalo hardcore? Because there's such a long history there that listeners out there may not know.
I got into Buffalo hardcore like 93, 94-ish, even though I'm a little old for that era. Like most people my age got in the late 80s, but when I grew up in New York, I didn't listen to hardcore at all. I listened to a lot of hip hop and stuff like that. And I actually had a friend after I got into hardcore, my best friend in high school. His brother was in this band called Citizen's Arrest from New York, which a lot of people know about. And I didn't know about that band until I knew about that band, and I was like, oh, your brother played bass in that band. I thought that was really cool. And he was my friend the whole time, and we never crossed hardcore paths in high school, which is kind of weird. But, Buffalo 93, 94-ish. I didn't start taking pictures till 95-ish, though, at shows here.
Okay, cool. And I know that you've also been in bands yourself. What are some of the bands that you've been in over the years?
I've been in a couple of bands. I was in a band called Black X. We were a straight edge band from Buffalo. We formed in 2013-ish, ended in 2018-ish, and I'm currently in a band called Holdout, which I joined. They were a band already. I joined in 2019, and I'm still in that band, doing that band to this day.
Well, I'm hoping to see your band in just a couple of weeks and actually meet you. I've seen you at shows from across the room and stuff, but I had kind of recognized you from your podcast social media, and I was
cool.
I think that's the podcast guy across the room. But
nice.
to date, this is the only interaction that we've ever actually had. But I'm just so happy to be able to
Yeah.
talk to you because I'm a transplant to Buffalo too. I moved
Mhm.
here from Missouri in 2018, and so I've only been here a few years, but it's very much home now because
Yeah.
of how long I've been here. But it's awesome to hear other people's stories of moving here and see what kind of lives they build whenever they come to Buffalo. Like I just love that you and I kind of have that in common, you know?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Buffalo was a cool place to be.
Yeah, nice. Okay, so tell me a little bit about some of your other projects. I know you've done a zine
Yes.
called Hi, My Name is Zine.
Yeah,
And I know, yeah,
I
so
did
go
a
ahead and
fanzine
like,
called Hello, My Name Is
yeah.
back in the mid 90s. I did 6 episodes of that, or six, not episodes, six issues of that way back in the day. I don't know. I mean, that's basically it as far as like projects in I guess over time. I my buddy Ruben is trying to do a book of my pictures that is kind of on the back burner right now, but we're always working on it. So maybe one day that'll come out. Pictures that I've taken over the last 30-ish years of going to shows and stuff. So hopefully that happens one of
Very
these
cool.
days. So I got that going too.
Will that be like a local publisher?
No, I'm not sure, but Ruben has a lot of reach, so it might be big-ish. I know when he was talking about it, we're talking about like, you know, book book tours and stuff like that. So it might be bigger than small, but not
Oh,
that much bigger than small.
very cool. I mean, so whenever I think about like Buffalo, like growing up in Missouri, I would think about bands from Buffalo that
Mhm.
would tour. You know what I mean? Like you'd have
Yeah,
like the Scott Vogel bands and stuff
yeah,
like that, and they would come through and it'd be like, "Oh, we're from Buffalo, New York." And it's so cool to have projects like that that go beyond Buffalo
yeah.
because it kind of puts the word Buffalo in people's minds around the
Mhm.
country for like the art scene beyond just the football and like the chicken wing scene. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. Yeah,
So I
definitely.
would love it if you do a book. That would be an absolutely cool project. Um,
Yeah.
tell me about your "Hello, My Name Is" podcast, and then leading into the Nickel City soundtrack podcast.
Well, the Hello, My Name Is podcast. I actually didn't mention that. I forgot about that. So, um, I started that. I'm not sure 2016 ish. Actually, my first guest was the guy I do the podcast with now, Chris Wyatt. So he, I decided to do a podcast about Buffalo. Basically, like I would, talk to different musicians and stuff from Buffalo, just about what they have going on and stuff like that. Then we got to like about 30 episodes, but we just kind of talked. It was pretty free form. I didn't have much of like a plan for it. I just kind of did it, and I would record like a bunch of episodes and not put them out, and then eventually put out like five at a time, which wasn't a good way to do it. But it happened a lot because I hate editing, even with pictures. I despise editing anything.
Yeah,
I'd rather just listen to the whole thing, take it in. It's all good. But yeah, I did that. I did that podcast for a while, and I it was kind of going. It kind of stopped, and then once COVID hit, Chris, who I do the podcast with, Chris Wyatt, he was like, "What would it take for us to do like a podcast about Buffalo hardcore and stuff?" And I was like, "Well, I got all this stuff. I've done it before. Why don't we just do this?" So we decided we were going to do a podcast that was kind of about specific things in Buffalo. Like the first episode, we talked about Daryl from Snapcase talked to him about like Looking Glass Self, and that was all we talked about. But
yeah,
it eventually morphed into doing just general overviews of people's careers and lives and stuff. So that's kind of how it goes now.
man, that's great. And some episodes that I listened to recently, I dug way back and found your Robbie Takak interview, and I just
Yes, that
listened
was
to
great.
your yeah, so cool. I kind of poke at Robbie on social media once in a while. It's like, hey, Robbie, are you a Propagandhi fan? And so I haven't got any replies yet, but I've definitely asked a couple times because
Yeah,
some of those early Goo Goo Dolls records are completely unbelievable that
yeah,
people don't even know because if you're not from this area or
hmm
you didn't know about punk in the late 80s and early 90s, you might not even know that like the first four Goo Goo Dolls records are like completely unbelievable, like Descendants style kind of punk rock. You know, it's so
definitely,
good.
definitely. Yeah, a lot of people don't know that. They just know about Iris,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah.
So-
Um, yeah. So And another recent one that I listened to was your one with Mike Hansen, the drummer from Pentimento and the
Yeah,
singer from Hotel Etiquette. And Mike was
yeah.
just on this podcast. So I'm kind of doing this thing lately where I'm trying to focus on who in Buffalo loves Propagandhi. I've had several local people on at this point, and I'm trying to do
Mm,
more. So it's really cool the way that you're connected and so immersed in live music in Buffalo. And you
mm,
also have this connection to this band, Propagandhi, that I love so much.
mhm.
Tell me a little bit about your history of like how you found the band, like when you first heard them, your kind of Propaganda origin story.
I'm not sure how exactly I got into I'll say propaganda. But
Yeah.
anyway, I guess maybe I guess I was always leaning towards like the leftist, like PCist side of things and all that stuff. And I guess like in like 1994-ish, like I like Earth Crisis and like Propaganda had this animal rights message which kind of resonated with me. I've never been vegan, but um I listened to what they said and I thought it was awesome. Like the first Propaganda album I got was How to Clean Everything. Remember I bought it at Tower Records a long time ago, back when Tower Records was open. But it was just cool. Like, all the cool lines, like, if you're fucking dumb enough to vote, you're fucking dumb enough to believe them. And,
Yeah.
you know, the the fuck religion song was awesome too. And it was just good. Like it was just I'm not a that style of punk fan, but Propaganda, like through their words and stuff kind of hit me. And I kind of been a fan ever since. And I just think that, like as I was telling someone like earlier this week, like Propaganda, like if I have like a worldview, like they kind of like cement the worldview. Like I don't take the worldview from them, but they kind of like everything they say. I think is like how things kind of should be, and they're right about a lot of things, and I think that's awesome. That's why I like that band or love that
Amazing. Have
band.
you like kept up with them over the years, or did me getting in touch with you kind of like be like, oh yeah, them? Like how has your fandom progressed over the years?
They're one of those bands that like I like them. I still like them. I kind of fell off of them after Potemkin. That was like the last record I really was into. That's the last record I bought by them. I remember listening to Supporting Cast, and I listened to Victory Lap as well recently, but Supporting Cast I listened to a few times, and actually I went back and listened to it, and I'm like, I know these songs. I guess I did listen to it a lot, but the
Yeah.
last one I actually bought was Potemkin. So yeah, I mean they're one of those bands I like. They're probably one of my favorite bands, but I don't listen to them regularly. But I listen to a lot of my favorite bands regularly. Some of them it ebbs and flows with me. Sometimes some bands I'm really into at a time, and some I'm not. But Propaganda is a great band. So
Awesome. Well, so Mark, my finding you
yes.
is kind of a bizarre story because about a year and a half ago, maybe 2 years, I can't really remember at this point, the
Mhm,
25th anniversary of Let's Talk More Rock
mhm,
occurred. And Brooklyn Vegan did an article that was a retrospective of that album, and it was written by a guy named Steve Vinace. And
mhm,
Steve came on this podcast, and he and I talked about his entire research process for that article, and we made a 25th anniversary episode for that album, and we had a total blast. And there are all these great pictures in the article, and underneath those pictures, it says photos by Mark Miller. So I start kind of digging into that, and I wound up finding your social media, and I was like, this guy lives in Buffalo. Like, what in the world? Like, the Brooklyn Vegan article has all of your pictures in it. And it was just kind of an amazing moment for me to realize that you are probably just like down the street from me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I live right by the Big Blue Water Tower, in
I live in
Buffalo.
Hamburg.
Oh man, you're just down the road. You're just down the road. Um, whenever I was moving to Buffalo in 2018, the second house that I almost bought behind the house that I did wind up buying is in the village center of Hamburg, right
Oh
by that
really?
old wooden playground.
Oh yeah? Cool.
Yeah, yeah. So I was like, I almost wound up right in the village center of Hamburg too, and it
Mhm.
was, that would have been great too.
Yeah.
Um, but you have photographed Propaganda a
Yeah,
couple times, right?
more
And
than a
so,
couple.
yeah. So, what I want to hear now is about your experiences photographing them, any standout memories that you may have, and just kind of tell me the story about some of your work with the band over the
Yeah.
years.
Do you know how they got my pictures?
I have no idea.
I feel like I sent Propagandhi pictures a long time ago, but I have no idea how they even got those pictures. But it's pretty cool if they got them. The magic of the world. So the first time I saw Propagandhi, they played this art space. I think it was in Waterloo, Ontario, if anyone knows otherwise. Um it was a it was they played on the floor. It was like an art space. So it was basically like just a big room and there was like pictures or paintings on the wall and stuff and they played. I think Todd was in the band at that point. I never saw him with John K. Sampson in the band. Um but I remember the first thing I remember is I think maybe the first or second song to play was Fuck the Border and
Mm.
I was I'm like this is awesome. And I don't know if I don't think today's or Empires is out yet. But I just remember Fuck the Border and I thought how awesome it was and how awesome Todd was and how cool his voice is and how he was just like intense as hell and all that stuff. And at this show they're playing and Chris starts disrobing. So he plays a song, takes his pants off, then he plays another song, takes his shirt off, takes his underwear off. You've seen the photographic evidence.
Yeah.
And it was awesome. Like it was cool to have seen that because I don't know of any other stories or anything like that, which is kind of cool. So I saw them in in Waterloo, and I saw them in Toronto at El Macambo a few weeks after that, and then I think I saw them in Pittsburgh with Avail,
Hmm.
and I saw them in Toronto or north of Toronto again. They played some big punk show where I remember waiting outside. It was like a long line to get into this like kind of like school gymnasium where they played was that was pretty cool too. And I think the last time I saw them was in St. Catharines, right up the road. They played at the L3 nightclub, which was pretty cool too. So I've seen them at least 5 times that I can remember. So, but
Did
when they came to
you?
the Buffalo, I didn't see them because I
Yeah,
had to
the
shoot
uh
a
the
well,
the
yeah,
2012 date, you mean?
yeah, I had to shoot a wedding in South Carolina that day.
Oh
So I was in
wow.
South Carolina shooting a wedding the day they finally came to Buffalo and played. So I unfortunately didn't get to see them. But one of the guys I do the podcast with, the guy who edits our podcast, Derek, his band opened that show.
Mm.
So there was a connection there. So he played that show, which is pretty cool.
What was that band? Do you know their name?
I think it was Old Ghosts by that point because Derek was in a band called Dead Hearts, and they were Old Ghosts by then. So, and it
Nice.
was his band after Dead Hearts. So yeah,
Um, how did you wind up photographing any of these shows? Like, did you just photograph them one time?
I photographed them. I think all except for the Pittsburgh date. I think I photographed them all 4 of the times I saw them, and just walked in with a camera. As the punk way kind of is, until it's not. Just going with your camera, take some pictures, and you're good.
Man,
So I don't think I've ever shot them with a digital camera though. I think it was all film
do you
all the way.
uh do you have those like scanned and stored and stuff like that?
Yeah, I have them in a folder called Propagandhi.
Oh my gosh, how many photos are in there?
Not many, because with film, you kind of like you didn't just spray pictures. You kind of took a few, and then because you only had like a small roll of film. And let me see. I'm looking at my thing here. Propagandhi. Looks like there's about 95 pictures in there. So
Wow. Holy
so
cow. Are they the ones that like they're the ones like kind of turned out?
yeah, well, they're all of them. I save everything but most of them are good. I hope. But
Well,
I'll send you a link to them.
I would love to look through those. That is
Yeah,
absolutely fantastic.
yeah.
Yeah. So what I'm thinking, I think that show that you wound up photographing was probably Todd Kowalski's first tour because he was playing with the band in December of '96 on an Eastern Canadian tour.
It must have been that. Yeah,
And if they were, because they did play Fuck the Border very early on, and they were also playing sort of an alternate version where they were singing the chorus to Fuck the Border super fast instead
Hmm.
of the Fuck the Border. It was Fuck the Border, Fuck the Border, Fuck the Border.
Yeah.
So they were singing it differently on the original version because that's how Todd had written it with his previous band I Spy. So you
Hmm.
probably saw Todd's first tour, which is kind of cool.
That's awesome. That's
Yeah.
exciting.
Yeah, and like, and I would not have even known that had, and I'm just guessing, but you know, I would not have known that had I not heard about some of these Eastern Canadian tours in December of '96 on this podcast throughout the
Hmm.
years. Um, okay, cool. Well, I mean, Mark, that is absolutely wonderful. I definitely want to see those as much as possible.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, so we're going to like, were there any other like memories from those shows that stand out? Was this during like Chris Hanna's like particularly hostile era of like yelling at the crowd and stuff like that?
I think he might have been a little yelly at the Canadian shows, but not so much the first like the Waterloo and Toronto. But I don't know if he was as much, after that. But it's Canada, so I don't know if I think Canada loves them, and there isn't like much. I don't know. There isn't like really like their heads aren't being butted. I guess I don't know. Maybe I'm.
Gotcha.
But one thing I do remember though, when they played Pittsburgh, they covered Hard Times by the Cro-Mags, which I thought was really cool.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
they recorded that and it's actually on, I think it's the Better Red Than Dead #2 compilation that they did as a benefit for AK Press. So a recorded version of that actually does exist. And then I
Oh,
think
very
they
cool.
also put the Cro-Mags cover on their live album, Live from Occupied Territory, which you can still listen to on YouTube and their Bandcamp. So if you're looking for some recorded and live versions of that Cro-Mags cover, you can definitely find it.
Very cool. Awesome.
Yeah. Um, okay, so Mark, something that I
Yes.
do on this podcast is whenever I invite people on for like special episodes like this, is I ask them to kind of pick their top three of Propagandhi's tunes.
Hmm.
And you picked two from Less Talk More Rock
Yes.
and one from Potemkin City Limits. So before we get into the songs themselves, I'm curious about the importance of Less Talk More Rock as a whole
Hmm.
to your life. Kind of tell me a little bit about what like this record means to you in the context of like your music fandom and journey in life.
I mean, from the first song, where it goes into, um, stop consuming animals, like that's just it just hits really hard. And like all the songs, like the Shell Petroleum thing is cool. Like I don't know. There's just so much stuff on there, which is just like they were speaking truth to me, and I was just like, this is really cool. And actually, the only Propagandhi shirt I have is from Let's Talk More Rock. It's it's got the logo on the front with gay positive, all that stuff, and it's
Mm-hmm.
got a guy on the back with a white pride picture, and it's got him in the crosshairs, which I think is really cool too. So that's the only piece of merchandise I think I bought from them that's other than a record. So I
Nice.
mean, it was just a great record. I
That's
just
uh that's one of their classic shirts too.
yeah. I just was there's so much stuff on there. The last song, the I Refuse to Be a Man song, like
Yeah.
all of their politics are so far ahead of like things that like people are talking about today, which is ridiculous. Like, in 2023, like, you know, like no one was even thinking in that way, back then. And today it's kind of like almost the mainstream, I guess, like, masculinity and all that stuff. It's
Mm-hmm.
like they were talking about toxic masculinity before anyone even thought of it, which I thought
Mm-hmm.
was cool. And like that, and people act like these ideas just happened like yesterday and when they've been around forever. And like they were talking about it, and they were ideas which were going through the underground, this whole time. And it's just cool that it's all chronicled and stuff on these records and stuff. And
Yeah,
but
1996, talking about that stuff in 1996, and it's society like took 2.5 decades to catch up to that. You know
pretty
what I mean?
much.
Like a lot of those conversations came in. So question,
Yeah.
um, tell me your thoughts on. Okay, we're gonna chat about three songs here. Okay,
Yes.
so the first two are apparently I'm a PC fascist and
Yes.
resisting tyrannical government, but you also said that the first two songs on Let's Talk kind of like a single song to you.
Yes.
And so I have a question for you
Yeah.
as a lifelong hardcore fan. Do
Yes.
you know the original version of Nailing Descartes to the Wall, which used to be called Firestorm My Ass?
I've seen the name Firestorm my ass, but I'm not familiar with the original version. Was it on that split?
No, so Firestorm My Ass is obviously a take on Earth Crisis's Firestorm, right?
Mhm.
And so it's kind of like a vegan rebuttal where they like disagree on like a little bit of the presentation
Yeah.
of the vegan movement at that
Hmm.
time.
Yeah.
But Firestorm My Ass was kind of like a rebuttal to Earth Crisis's Firestorm. But when they were recording Less Talk More Rock, they drove to the studio and didn't have the whole record written. So
Mhm.
they recorded an original version of what became Nailing Descartes to the Wall. And it was called Firestorm My Ass. And it was more of a direct song pointed at Earth Crisis.
Nice.
And so it's kind of a hilarious little movement when you think about how unbelievably important that Earth Crisis record wound up being in the history of heavy music
Yeah.
because they were doing so much of like the getting people to join the straight edge movement and the
Hmm.
vegan movement, and Propaganda like didn't like the way that they were kind of doing it. So it was this little like back and forth rebuttal. So you should definitely check that out. And
I
I should
will.
have sent it to you in advance because it's on there where quantity is job number one
Yeah.
compilation
Yeah.
from 1998. So that's kind of a little thing that you might get a kick out of later on.
Oh, very cool. Awesome. I will check that out.
Yeah. Okay, so let's chat about the first tune. Apparently, I'm a PC fascist. Why did you end up nailing Descartes to the wall? So we're gonna do a comma here for both songs.
Yes.
Why did you choose PC fascist nailing Descartes as your first song selection?
Well, I've been vegetarian like since like 1995. I guess Earth Christ had a lot to do with that, but and propaganda. So, the coolest thing about the apparently I'm a PC fascist is like the way that they compare animals to people and like how like basically animals I guess are people and you should treat them because they're kind of like I don't know if I'm putting this right, but they're kind of like if you treat animals in this way, people are next basically type of idea, which I think is very relevant and not a way people look at things. I mean, I have a bunch of dogs and they're part of the family. Like, I couldn't imagine like treating them in any sort of bad way. And I don't know why people. I mean, I guess I eat cheese and stuff like that, which I probably shouldn't. But I think it's cool how they compare the two things. Like less like people who are less fortunate to like animals and such stuff like that. And if you don't stop them from doing people the power from doing that, people are next, and people have already been like marginalized and stepped on and such like that. So it's a good way to put it, but I don't think a lot of people listen to the message that is very apparent and I think easy to understand.
Mm,
So yeah, I mean, and like I said before, they're right about veganism. People should be vegan, even though I'm not, because I guess I'm lazy. But I
yeah,
mean, it's right. They're right, and that's why whether I completely agree with whether I completely do what they're talking about, I agree with the message that they're laying down. I guess.
yeah, and I mean, so what do you think about the musical performance of these two songs? Because if we look at them as one piece, we've
Yeah.
got a super melodic, almost bouncy, upbeat tune,
Yeah.
and then we kind of go into a much harder hitting song that kind of like previews a little bit about kind of where they go a little bit later with Today's Empires, where it's
Yeah.
pretty
Yeah.
heavy and super fast.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about what you think about the performance of this particular tune.
Yeah. Yeah. Like the first song, is more pop punkish style, and then speed into overdrive with nailing the car to the wall. And that's one of the cool things about them, because there's other songs where they kind of do that on, which I enjoy, like, fuck the border, um that song New Homes for Idle Hands
Yeah.
on Today's Empires, which I almost picked because I love the musical performance of that song so much. Like, it's just so fast and good and everything. But, you know, I mean, I feel like if you pick any song, this is like the propaganda. In my mind, this is the Propagandhi song, the first two on Let's Talk More Rock. But yeah,
Amazing.
yeah, definitely.
Do you have any favorite like lyrics and stuff like that that really stand out to you amongst the two songs in the words?
Oh, let's see. Where he says, like, let me see, I took notes here. So when he says, like, if you buy that shit, then how long till it's me that serves as your commodity?
Mm,
And that's, it's people don't think in those terms. They're just thinking about, where they are and what they have, rather than thinking, which I think is a theme in Propaganda songs, like thinking about, those who don't have as much as you do. you know, I think in America, where, even though some are more privileged than others, I think being in America is a privilege as compared to other parts of the world. And we have to have empathy for those parts of the world. Like, we see all these bombs dropping all over the world, and we don't even think about it. Like, we don't even think about what it must be like to live, like, under these conditions and stuff. And I mean, I think about these things,
yeah.
and I'm like, why would we want anyone to drop bombs anywhere, when what's going on in Israel and everything? Like, how does that solve anything, in the world? And why would we want that for anyone in the world, no matter who we think did wrong to whomever else and stuff? And I don't know, I guess I think it's easy, in my mind, it's easy to have peace, but for some reason these people can't figure it out. But
Yeah. And that's really interesting too, as a thought experiment that whenever we've done particular episodes about like refugees and fleeing war zones, Propaganda has songs like that throughout so much of their
mhm.
stuff. They have songs like "Life at Disconnect" off Potemkin. They've got "Night Letters" on supporting cast. They've got songs about fleeing war, and I've thought about this so many times of like imagining a bomb dropping like a quarter of a mile from my house, and all of a
Mhm.
sudden where I am in my little neighborhood just off the 290 in Buffalo
Yes.
becomes a war zone, and all of a sudden I'm running around my house being like, oh my gosh, can I take the cats? Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
And it's like, what do you take? What do you leave? How do you get out? How do you get safe? How do you not lose your life? And it's a really crazy thought experiment. Um, that you just kind of laid out for me there, that this band has caused me to think about many times over the years.
Yeah, I think like my parents came here from another country. There wasn't war torn or anything, but they came to America for a better life. And I mean, I think it's like I think it's crazy when we talk about like immigration and stuff, and wanting people wanting a better life, and us like being like, well, you can't come here because of this, and this, when we have money for literally everything except for the things that might make a difference in someone's life. We have all these, like, we have everything here. Like, we have money for, every war and everything, and we have no money for like people who want a better life, who might be better citizens than we are, because they understand what it's like to be in a place where it's like hell, and come here to where it's better than the hell that they came from. And I'm not sure why we don't want these people here, and it doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, and well, I mean, there's also the line in these songs where it's like, then we can grow together, make this shithole planet better.
Yes.
I love that line. I
Hmm.
love the line at the end of Nailing Descartes, "Life's too short to make others shorter," because you could apply that line
Hmm.
to people as well. Life is too short it's
Definitely.
too fleeting, too much of a fluke gift in the universe to purposefully make other people's lives shorter if they can be helped. And you can apply that to, the animals, obviously, which is the main topic of these songs, but it's applicable to people, which are animals also.
Yeah, and I think I mean, it's an easy comparison to make, and I don't know why more people don't think about it in those terms. Like, it doesn't make, I mean, it makes sense to me. Like people are about out for themselves usually. I mean,
Hmm.
that's life in in the world. But if we gave a little bit, to people, you can make it so much better with a little bit you can give, I guess.
Yeah, well, and you just kind of nailed another line of the song where it's you can feign ignorance, but you're not stupid, you're just selfish.
Pretty
So
much.
you kind of threw that one right in front of me as well. So it's like whenever I see whenever I have conversations like this, and
Hmm.
whenever I hear comments like that, like from you or from people in the world, I'm like, man, propaganda is everywhere. They just
Yes.
like I've just been so immersed in these songs doing this podcast now for so many years that I
Mhm.
just see their their one-liners and their critiques and their
Hmm.
lyrics and their observations like just driving down the road. You know what I mean?
Yes, definitely.
It
I
makes
definitely
me
agree.
it makes me just think about it all the time. Okay, so do you have any other thoughts on Less Talk or the because we've got these like mission statements on this record too, right?
Yes.
Where animal liberation is one of the essentially four themes of the album.
Hmm.
And do you remember getting like do you ever read like the essays on the inside of the lyric sheet and everything?
A long time ago.
Yeah. Yeah. Like that was so interesting. Do you remember any other bands back in like the mid because like in 1996 when this record came out, I was 13 years old.
Yeah.
So I was just immersing myself into stuff like Green Day and
Hmm.
Pennywise and like Tool and Rancid. So I was not quite into like this like world of ideas yet because when this record came out, you were already like in Buffalo, a little bit older
Yeah.
than me. Do you remember any other bands that were like really pushing the envelope with like ideas in kind of a similar way?
Not really. I mean, as far as like hardcore bands, I don't know if I mean Chokehold, who is from Hamilton,
Hmm.
they kind of had like similar ideas. I mean, they talked about a lot of things like Chris Logan always talked about everything when they played on stage and stuff. And I don't know if they had like I feel like their second album had some like explanations of stuff and things like that in their record, but no one like Propagandhi, I guess, that did it in this sort of way and laid everything out for you like this.
Did you so you didn't go to a propaganda chokehold show in London, Ontario in 96 or early 97?
I did not.
Okay, I think I actually uploaded a video of that to my YouTube channel. Somebody who's been on the podcast before who went on to who played guitar in a band called Shoulder, which went on becoming the Constantines.
I have seen Shoulder in the
Yeah,
past.
so Paul from Shoulder has been
Mhm.
on the podcast before, and he actually promoted a chokehold propaganda show in London, Ontario in
Oh, very cool.
1996-ish. I think it was late 96 as well. So it's probably on the exact same tour that you saw.
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah. Um, Whenever I hear names like that, it just pops up and I'm just like, oh, referencing random shows and tours. My brain is so overwhelmed by this. Okay,
Yes.
so Mark, let's move on to the next song.
Yes.
Your second song that you picked is Resisting Tyrannical Government,
Yes.
also from Let's Talk More Rock. Tell me
Yes.
a little bit about why you picked this tune.
Well, it's kind of has similar ideas to the other song, I mean, more in a people person sort of way, but the coolest thing about this song is the hockey references,
Mm,
obviously.
yeah.
So I'm not a huge hockey fan, but it's really funny, which is a kind of a hallmark of I guess early-ish propaganda. They were pretty funny in how they presented things, which was cool. I mean,
Hmm.
they had a lot of like little funny-ish things in their uh in their presentation. But I guess yeah, like the whole idea of you know, you know, privileged fucks like me should feel obliged to whine and kick and scream until everyone has everything they need because here in this part of the world we have so much that and we can be kind of fighting for other people's things and we kind of don't we have kind of a way to control but we're all about ourselves and stuff and we don't do anything or maybe the people we put in office don't do anything but it's I mean, I guess the beginning of the song is talking about let's just blow shit up, and but if like if we blew shit up, you know, they would probably find a way to flip it on us. I think if we if there was violence, they would find a way to turn the violence against the people who did it. I guess I don't know. But the hockey stuff is the cool stuff. So
Yeah, well, and I love that you mentioned that last line as well, because that line has been referenced on this podcast before as being one of the arguably the greatest closing lyrics of like in the history of rock music. You know what I mean?
yes, yes.
It's just so perfectly said, and I love to hear like the way that you like appreciate what you have. Like I feel like you're a person who you're giving
Mhm.
me the vibe that like you appreciate the kind of like a good life, and you look around and you appreciate what you have and you're grateful for the life that you've lived.
Mhm.
Does that resonate with you a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I'm lucky to be here because my parents came from this country called Guyana in South America. They came here like in the late '60s for a better life, and I mean, I could have grown up there if I didn't, if and it's a pretty poor country. It's pretty much a third world country, and I'm lucky that they came here and and they gave a shit enough for us to like put us through school and stuff. Even though I didn't finish college, but my dad, I still talk to him all the time, and I really appreciate all the stuff that he's done. I actually interviewed him just to have a while ago. I talked about his like journey to America and stuff and how that all went and stuff. And it's pretty cool. Like it's like an immigrant's like if people heard an immigrant story, I think they would feel a lot differently about immigration and stuff. Like I think people come to America to like steal, quote unquote, steal from America when they're just coming to have a chance at a decent life. When it wasn't there in their home country. I mean, there are
Yeah.
criminals who come over, but there's criminals here too. So
Yeah.
who are we to act like we're better than they are?
Yeah, and what's really interesting to me about that is like I grew up in a 99.9% white suburb just outside of St. Louis, Missouri,
Hmm.
and it was a very interesting experience for me because after I graduated college with a teaching degree, I wound up living in Mexico and rural Hawaii. And then I went to the UK for a while, and then I went to Saskatchewan for a while.
Wow.
So I kind of like bounced around a little bit, and I had some of those like immigrant experiences of like finding myself surrounded in like cities where I had no idea where I was,
Hmm.
didn't speak a language, stood out like a sore thumb, being like 6'5" and obviously not from around here kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so those kinds of experiences really, really resonate with me as well. And
Hmm.
that makes me think about the closing lines of this song
Hmm.
also in a new way that I had never experienced before, like while singing it, like, in my car driving around in
Yeah.
going back and forth between my parents' house in St. Louis and my college in Columbia, Missouri. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. Definitely.
Um, what do you think about the music of this one? Because this is just such a beautiful tune to me.
I'm trying to think about how it goes in my head. But
He's like
um,
playing way high up on the neck in the guitar, and like it's just beautiful. It's not like why don't we all strap bombs to our
yeah,
chests? It's just wonderful. It's just such a melodic and catchy and gorgeous tune.
yeah, I agree. It's just, I mean, it's like everything that they kind of did like early-ish. Like it's like these like messages presented like in this cool way, which I don't know. I'm not a big music technical term guy, so that's not my. I know something sounds good and something is fast or slow or mid tempo, but I mean, yeah, I mean this song is, I mean it's cool, like the words and the music. Um, I don't know. I'm
Love
just
it.
I'm hard. It's hard for me to describe these things.
That's totally fine. Um, well, let's talk about your third selection here. So you mentioned Potemkin City Limits earlier,
Yeah, yeah,
and you did choose a song from Potemkin, which I'm super delighted that you talked
yeah.
about. One of our most controversial episodes that we ever made, by the way, is
Hmm.
about this tune. But before we get into the song, tell me a little bit about your experiences with Potemkin City Limits as a whole record when it came out in like 2005.
I think I loved it from the get go. I listened to the episode with you and Mike Hansen, and I remember Mike talking about how they open up these records with these like great like opening songs, and like the first song Potemkin is just good. Speculative fiction.
Yeah.
It's just like it's such a cool like story, and it's kind of cool like the way like I don't know if he how often Chris does this, but like the way he phrases words is just like ridiculous. Like I couldn't think of like singing stuff the way he sings stuff at all. Like I my mind just doesn't work that way. So it's really cool how he does what he does as far as like presenting like presenting lyrics and such. But yeah, the first song is awesome. But like when I bought this, like I was like, is this as good as today's Empire Tomorrow's Ashes? Like it in my mind it wasn't, but upon revisiting it, like I knew every song on this record. And I haven't listened to it in a while. And it's like it just I know all these songs and it's good. Like
Mm.
it's I remember you guys talking about how like this kind of missed both of you, this
Yeah.
record, but I'm not sure how.
Well, the thing is for me is like I was so obsessed with how fast and crazy today's Empire's Tomorrow's Ashes was.
Mm-hmm.
And so this record is just not quite at the warp speed of what today's Empires was. And I think that looking back on it, that's purely why I thought that this record wasn't what today's Empires was, which is the dumbest thought. You know what I mean? Like, I think that I was just like, it's not as fast and heavy as today's Empire, so it can't be as good, which is so moronic. And I totally admit that.
Yeah.
But for me, this one just like didn't have the immediate, like completely raging out of control aspect that today's Empires did. And so I think that's purely why I didn't like it as much, which is so dumb to say out loud, but it's just the truth.
I get it. So like I remember hearing Bringer of Greater Things, like them playing that live before this came out, and I thought that song was beautiful.
Yeah.
And it was cool to finally hear it on the record because I remember I think Todd like told the story about what it was about like before they would play it. And it was just it's a beautiful like it doesn't really sound like their other stuff, but it was just a great song. And I remember how much I liked that song and Todd singing is just like it kind of makes a lot of their stuff after he joined the band. Like I think I'd rather have Todd than John because it's just because he brings like an edge to everything, and it's just cool. I mean, John was cool, but you know, Todd is just where it's at, I guess.
Yeah,
So,
well, Todd's supposed to be in the band, and John obviously is like somebody having a tremendous amount of respect for
mhm,
and love his music. But John went on to do exactly what he was supposed to do.
agreed.
And Chris and George went on to do exactly what they were supposed to do.
Yeah,
And so, like, we get two Christmases now. Do you know what I mean? Um,
definitely,
I'm
definitely.
hearing that conversation a lot in Buffalo these days when a formerly extremely popular Buffalo band broke into two separate bands. And I'm watching the people fight on Reddit now, and everybody's saying, we have two Christmases now. Just accept it. So that's kind of like what happened with me. But Mark, have you ever thought about the fact that the opening line of this song, 49th Parallel, and
Mm.
then the reference to the Battle of 1812, that was here.
Yes,
That's where we are. And I'm like, whenever we did this speculative fiction episode, I was like, dude, this song is like taking place like in Buffalo, New York.
yeah. I go to Old Fort Niagara like
Mm-hmm.
I've been there a couple of times because my kids have been on field trips there, and that's kind of all a part of that, which is cool. you
Dude,
know?
I love that you talked about the kids because I chaperoned an old Fort Niagara field trip
Yeah.
like 6 months ago.
Nice.
So I was just there.
Yeah, so much history happens here.
Amazing. So the tune that you picked from this record is Rock for Sustainable Capitalism.
Yes.
And I am dying to know your thoughts on this tune, why you picked it, and what you love about it.
So I like this song a lot because this is how I feel about music. Like it's like music to me, like I'm not a religious person. Like music to me is like what drives me like in life. Like this is when I need something, when I want, when I'm trying to feel something, music is what gets me there. Like and even more so today than, when this came out almost 20 years ago. Like
Hmm.
I feel like today music is more and getting more and more of a business, and bands trying to get the bag and doing all this stuff and trying to, be popular and get on commercials and stuff like that, and not just be bands and, live experiences and talk about them. And, you know, I always like bands that like, not that you shouldn't be, popular and stuff or not aspire to be that, but I've always like, I like hardcore. I like people who are kind of like me, or, like not on, like they're kind of like the regular people talking about regular things rather than like bands talking about, stuff that I have no idea what they're talking about. And like that's what, punk rock and hardcore have always meant to me. Like it's just like it was always like a place, like I go to hardcore shows today, and I'm like that's the place where I feel most comfortable. And that wouldn't happen in a giant room, I guess. And like, seeing friends around, and I came to hardcore because I had to, not because it was, oh, that's a cool music that I'm gonna get into and, be a part of, and like it's, it's where my friends are, it's, it's how I live my life and all that stuff. And I think this kind of describes that perfectly,
Yeah.
what music means to me. It's not a commodity. It's it's not that, even though it's sold that way. It shouldn't be that.
Yeah,
So
and the line that I'm thinking of that kind of resonated with me from this song is
mhm,
right in the middle of the song. Music's power to describe, compel, renew. It's all a distant second to the offers you can't refuse.
exactly.
I just love that line, and because uh, I went to shows every month of my life from
Mhm.
February of 1998 to March of 2020 when I
Yes.
saw Silent Planet and Currents at Rec Room.
Yeah.
And that was the last show that I went to for a long time.
Hmm.
And that was the longest stretch of my life where I didn't see music. And it's just like this void opened up inside of me.
Yes.
And I love the really super positive spin that you're putting on this song, because this song is so controversial within the band's history because of the commentary about the record label and the jabs at Mike Burkett from NoFX and stuff like that. But it's just like there's this other message in here that I'm so glad that you so refreshingly latched onto, instead of like the drama that's also woven within the song. You know what I'm saying?
Definitely. Yeah. I mean, it's just how I feel about like, music. Like it's like music should make you think about a lot of things every time you should be contemplating things when you listen to music, I think, instead of just like mindlessly having it be like like elevator music or background music. It should be something that like, you know, puts you in a place and time, or makes you think about a place, a time, or where you want to be. And like, and that's how and I mean, I always felt like bands didn't have to sell out to be successful, and a lot of bands just took the easy way out. Not that I'm in a band and I've made these decisions and everything, but like a band like Propagandhi, like they've done it. And I'm not sure what those guys do other than Propagandhi, but it's fine. Like I don't feel any sort of way about them. Like they do no wrong in my mind, I guess.
Amazing. Well, Mark, I am so delighted to have been able to spend this hour with you and
Yes.
talk about this incredible band, hear about your history of, photographing them. And everybody should definitely, if they want to go see your work immediately with regards to what you've done for Propaganda, the best way to do it is to look at that Brooklyn Vegan 25th anniversary Let's Talk More Rock article, because Mark took all the photos in that article, which are really cool, and it's available immediately. I was looking at it 15 minutes ago. Um, but Mark, do you want to tell people where they can find you and your work and follow along if they want to, kind of go along on this photography journey that you got going on in music?
You can go to my Instagram is what I update HMNI photo on Instagram. That's where I post all my pictures. I'm a little behind in shows and stuff, but that's where you can find pictures of bands and my kids and stuff like that.
Awesome. And what about your podcast? What are you excited about with Nickel City Soundtrack Podcast?
I do a podcast called Nickel City Soundtrack. It's a Buffalo centric podcast, even though lately we've been talking to people not from Buffalo, but we've been talking to them about Buffalo, so that's cool. Um, but yeah, we it's been going for 3 years, just celebrated our 3 year anniversary, and we're I'm actually promoting a show that my band is playing. If we want to talk about my band, hold out.
Yeah, do it.
But I put NCS Podcast Presents on the top of the flyer because why the hell not? But
Heck yeah, man.
so yeah, it's a show at Area 54, which is Amy's place. It's Pure Heel, Holdout, Jewel Tone, and Selfish Act, and maybe another band. I'm trying to work on a fifth band for the show. So I mean, that's what I'm up to. Oh, one other thing that I'm up to.
Yeah.
Um, I have I have this friend who actually like one of my photographic heroes is my friend Greg Straight Edge, who way back in the day I met him like in 1995-ish, and he taught me a ton about photography. And he he's an animal rights activist. He's been like, fighting for animal rights like pretty much his whole life. Like he used to work for the farm sanctuary in Ithaca and stuff like that. But he has a sanctuary called the Long Road Home Sanctuary, which I'm actually on the board of. And he's trying to get that going. It's in North Carolina, but he's trying to save animals in that way, and we're trying to build that sanctuary up a little bit. He's been hitting some roadblocks and stuff, but I want to tell people about the Long Road Home Sanctuary. So if you can help that out, that would be I'd be immensely grateful for that. So
Awesome. Well, Mark Miller,
yes,
HMNI Photo.
that's me.
Man, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. I know that we took forever to get scheduled, but I'm
Yeah,
super grateful to you for your time, your
yeah,
stories, for sharing some of your photos that you got lingering on the hard drive there with me. I love looking through this kind of archival stuff and
nice.
just appreciating and seeing some stuff I've never seen before from my favorite band. It's a real pleasure to have you here, and I'm glad we've connected because now I can have a new pal to chat to whenever I'm at shows all around Buffalo.
Awesome, and I will see you on our draft episode coming up soonish.
Ooh, yeah, we got a nice little teaser there. Mark Miller, thank you so much for being here, man.
All right, I'll see you.